In the headlines, ASUU begins mobilization of members for nationwide strike. NNPC links cooking gas price hike to Pengassan strike. Underage minors in Plateau turn to mines over classrooms. And on the foreign scene, ICC convicts Darfur militia leader for war crimes. Hello, good evening, and welcome to news updates on Trust TV. I am Dorcas Yakubuzala. And now the news in full. Barely 1 week to the commencement of its planned nationwide strike, the leadership of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has commenced mobilization of all its members across all the universities in the country. The union promised the latest development upon the government's silence after a notice had been served to all relevant authorities, including the Minister of Labour and Employment, Megari Dingeti. Trust TV reports that ASUU had last week Monday announced publicly that it will shut down all the public universities in the country in order to press home its demands, which have remained largely unattended to. The union specifically explained that the notice starting from Sunday, September 28, 2025, would first herald a 2-week warning strike before embarking on a total and indefinite strike over the federal government attitude. However, in a fresh letter signed by President of the Union, Professor Chris Piwuna, and sent to all branches of the union, ASUU said it had no choice than to shut down the universities with strike because of the government's actions. The letter dated October 5, 2025, a copy of which was obtained by Trust TV on Monday. ASUU president said he regretted to inform his colleagues that there's no meaningful development towards resolving the matter. Now, the management of the National Assembly has cautioned aggrieved parliamentary workers against carrying out their planned protests and picketing of the complex as lawmakers resume plenary on Tuesday. The warning followed threats by some members of the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria to embark on industrial action over alleged unresolved welfare and constitutional issues affecting staff. In a circular issued on Sunday by the Secretary, Human Resources and Staff Development, ECN, Eyo ECN, on behalf of the clerk to the National Assembly, Kamoru Ogunlana, the management warned that any attempt to disrupt legislative activities would attract severe disciplinary measures. The warning came on the heels of a letter by some concerned person members dated October 3, 2025, and addressed to the clerk of the National Assembly, accusing management of harassment and intimidation of union members, demanding transparency and adherence to the Person Constitution 2015. The petition, jointly signed by MC Odu Yusuf Muhammad Abiola and Chinenye Peace Nda, alleged that workers were being queried and threatened with suspension for insisting on the presentation of audited accounts to the Congress as required by the union's constitution. Beyond union matters, the concerned workers accused management of neglecting long-standing welfare issues, including correction of salary shortfalls, remittance of statutory deductions, tax, pension, and housing fund, full implementation of the consolidated legislative salary structure, and payment of allowances covering rent, subsidy, leave, hazard, and medicals. The Group Chief Executive of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Bayo Ojunlari, has attributed the recent scarcity in cooking gas to the temporary loading and disruption during the strike action by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengassan. According to him, the industrial action had halted operations for several days and produced an artificial increase in prices. Ojulari also accused opportunistic retailers of exploiting the shortfall to hike prices. He, however, assured Nigerians that as supply chains stabilize, the cooking gas price is expected to ease in the coming weeks. Cooking gas prices have skyrocketed across Nigeria, with Lagos residents now paying between 2,500 naira and 3,000 naira per kilogram as scarcity grips major cities.
Yeah, very good. I think it was quite unfortunate that the Dangote and Pengasin issue, led to the strike. And as you know, whenever there's strike and critical staff manning critical facilities are not available, it's almost impossible. In this particular case, we actually lost significant production of almost over 200,000 barrels per day of production that was deferred. We also have gas production that was deferred, and power generation also was impacted. About 1.2 megawatts of power was affected by that strike. But I think I'm very pleased that the federal government, through the leadership of the Federal Minister for Labor and also full support from the National Security Advisor, we're able to pull together everyone into a dialogue and bring everybody to the table. And now there's been a communique that has been agreed on the way forward. We are all very hopeful that everyone will abide by those communiques. So since then, we've been able to return quite a number of the production back to status quo.
And the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, has said that Nigeria is greater than the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasin, following the rift between the association and the Dangote refinery. Shettima stated this on Monday at the opening of the Nigerian Economic Summit 2025 in Abuja, stressing the critical importance of the 650,000 barrel per day Dangote refinery and declared that it must be supported at all costs to succeed. He said that the $20 billion facility is a national asset that must be supported to function.
I wish to call for caution, retrospection, and a deeper sense of patriotism from both the labor and the organized private sector in defining and improving the relationship between labor and industry in the interest of maintaining our steadily improving economic fortunes. It's not about holding the whole nation to ransom because of a minor labor dispute. Nigeria is greater than Pengasan. Nigeria is greater than each and every one of us. I am not coming to you as a partisan. I am coming to you as a patriot in search of solutions to our national challenges. I wish to re-emphasize that in the interest of improving the fortunes, the government is hereby tasking the Nigerian Economic Summit Group in taking more than a passing interest in the matter. The government will expect far-reaching recommendations from the NESG in addressing this issue, even as the government is also taking steps to protect big industry and ensuring industrial harmony for the good of the nation.
Meanwhile, Dangote Refinery has said the two-day strike action by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasin, did not disrupt its operations for a second. This comes as a 650,000 barrel per day refinery hailed President Bola Tinubu and federal government officials for their intervention to halt the Pengasin strike. The company made this known in a lengthy appreciation statement released on its X account on Sunday. According to the oil firm, the tireless intervention of President Tinubu, his ministers and senior officials resulted in the abatement of the disruption of Pengasin's strike actions. A refinery noted that the unalloyed allegiance of its workers prevented disruption even for a second. Recall that Pengasin declared a strike against Dangote Refinery over the mass sacking of Nigerian workers. The strike action lasted for 2 days following the intervention of the federal government, with both Pengasin and Dangote Refinery reaching a truce. Now, under the scorching sun, children gather at the sandpits of mining sites with determined looks on their faces, bending down to dig and scoop sand in search of mineral resources. Despite the intense heat, these young boys, who are supposed to be in classrooms, persist, shoveling load after load of sand in their quest to reach the hidden treasures beneath the earth across various mining sites in Plateau State. Ado Musa visited some of the mining sites in Plateau and sent in this report.
Behind me are men and women, including children underage, engaging in mining activities. The issue of child labor in mining sites, particularly in Plateau State, is a pressing concern. Governor Caleb Mutfwan has expressed worry over children under 18 participating in mining activities, citing it as a major factor pushing them out of schools. However, when interviewed, many of these children reveal that they engage in mining activities to financially support themselves and their families.
I
am here to make money. I don't go to school or learn any trade. I have been mining for over a year. I use the money to buy food, clothes, and shoes for myself. And I also support my father with what I make from tin mining. I hope to return to school one day and become a medical doctor. I come to mining sites purposely to earn money for my school fees and to support my education. I want to continue learning because education is very important. I'm going to JSS 1. If I make enough money, I will also support my siblings' education. I come here to earn money to help my mother and to pay for my school uniform. I also want to enroll my sister in school because our father passed away and I'm the one supporting the family. That is why I'm into mining. My goal is to further my education to university level and become a Navy officer in the future. The truth is, I try my best to ensure my son got an education, but he refused. He would wear his school uniform from home, but instead of going to school, he would go mining. If I force him to stop, he may end up doing something worse, since he can mine and buy his own food and clothes. I just let him be. That is the true situation. Some community members who expressed disapproval over the engagement of minors in the mining said the children often claim they do so to support their education and families.
So most of the time, I walk around the bushes, I send them back home, but I realize that most of them, without even the mining, they won't be able to afford to pay their school fees, because I think I have paid some of them, most of their complaint, they send them out of school because of school fees.
Minors are not supposed to be here. They are not supposed to be here because the implication is very, very big. And some parents, the reason why they are allowing some of their children to come here is because of the economic activity, the economic situation of the country. To some extent, they allow the children, but it's so unfortunate. To some extent, you will find, a parent, even if the child comes back from the mining activity, let's say in the evening, they will even be asking the child, okay, like something like that.
Sunday Samuel, the executive chairman of the Plateau State Universal Basic Education Board, acknowledged the impact of mining on school enrollment and said the government is working around the clock to address the issue.
What the state government is doing in curtailing the menace of out-of-school children who engage in mining activities and other activities is that we've commenced sensitization program where we've been able to reach out to community leaders, to traditional rulers who are custodians of the people, and to draw their attention on the importance of education. Children who are school-going age, it's a law that they must go to school, and failure to do so, the parents are to be prosecuted. Now we are going on advocacy.
Educationists have described the situation as alarming, warning that unless urgent measures are taken,
Society risks raising generations of people who do not value education. They added that these children are also at risk of drifting into criminal activities, which could worsen insecurity in the long run. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
In other news, the Nigerian Medical Association has conducted the court-ordered health examinations on the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. The Secretary General of the NMA, Dr. Ben Egbo, confirmed the development on Sunday. The Federal High Court in Abuja had on September 26th ordered the NMA to, within 8 days, constitute a panel of medical experts to assess the health condition of Kanu. In his ruling, Justice James Omotosho ordered the NMA president to submit the committee's report within 8 days for consideration on whether Kanu should be transferred to the National Hospital for treatment. On Sunday, the NMA Secretary General, Egbo, said the evaluation had been done as ordered by the court, adding that the report had been submitted to the Attorney General of the Federation. The judge's ruling followed an application by Kanu to be moved from the custody of the Department of State Services to the National Hospital over what he described as his failing health. The Jigawa State Police Command has intensified its fight against crime and drug abuse, arresting 153 suspects and recovering 13,078 illicit drugs in a coordinated statewide operation. The crackdown executed across 42 police divisions also led to the recovery of a motorcycle and 228,570 naira in cash. Police spokesperson SP Lawan Shisu Adam said the suspects were apprehended for offenses ranging from drug peddling and possession of prohibited substances. The recovered items included Exol and D5 tablets, tramadol capsules, and cannabis, amongst others. Commissioner of Police CP Ahiro Muhammad commended the operatives for their dedication and urged residents to assist law enforcement with credible intelligence to help curb drug-related crimes. He reiterated the command's commitment to maintaining peace and security in the state, warning criminals to turn a new leaf or face prosecution. All suspects, according to the police, have been charged to court following investigations. This is news updates on Trust TV coming up after the break. Nigeria's agricultural sector remains resilient despite sectoral challenges. This and many more when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back from the break. In case you're just joining, this is news update on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories again. We told you that ASUU begins mobilization of members for nationwide strike. And NNPC links cooking gas price hike to Pengasson strike. Moving on to more stories. Since independence, Nigeria's agricultural sector has transformed from being the cornerstone of the nation's economy to one facing persistent challenges. Despite its setbacks, the sector continues to show resilience, remaining a major employer and a key contributor to the country's gross domestic product. As Nigeria celebrates 65 years of independence, Trust TV's Bella Musa examines the nation's agricultural potential before and after independence and the current challenges hindering its development. The report.
Nigeria used to be a major producer of cash crops like cocoa, palm oil, groundnut, and cotton. Nigeria's agriculture accounted for over half of the GDP and was the primary source of employment, foreign exchange, earnings, and government revenue. However, the discovery and subsequent boom of crude oil export in the 1970s marked a turning point that led to the significant neglect of the agricultural sector. Farmers are still struggling with the old tools to produce food that barely feed the nation.
We want the government to assist us with fertilizer by ensuring that it gets to the farmers. Number of farmers has reduced because out of 100%, about 20% have abandoned farming due to the cost of production. With massive oil revenues, successive governments shifted focus and resources away from agriculture. This created a perception that oil would be a more effortless path to prosperity. The neglect caused a sharp drop in both food and cash crop production.
The challenges we are facing is in this country, each and every farmer is on his own because there is not a proper intervention from the government. When I say intervention, when you look at our budgets, the percentage given to agriculture is low, is below expectation.
Numerous government programs such as Operation Feed the Nation and the Green Revolution have been rolled out over the years with limited long-term success. However, there has been inconsistency in the implementation of the programs.
You see, policy pronouncement is just one out of the entire cycle. Normally, we should have policy formulation, policy development, policy enactment before policy pronouncement. If you look at pronunciation for the declaration of state of emergency in agriculture, it didn't capture these four processes. We just went to the last one, which is announcing that there is a state of emergency. And because of that, you could see clearly that nobody can see for real that this is the direction that the state of emergency on agriculture is taking.
Beyond throwing money and credit to farmers to improve their production, there has been limited application of technology. This is primarily responsible for the stagnancy in agricultural development in Nigeria.
Over the years, if you look at what is happening, one of the things that keeps people away from agriculture is the drudgery involved in virtually all sectors of agriculture. Every unit operation in agriculture, you find out that it is manually done, right from clearing of the land, right from tillage, right from planting, spraying, harvesting, drying. All these things are manually done. So what we have come to realize is that if you want to make the field of agriculture to become very attractive, then you have to take measures to remove the drudgery involved in agriculture. And the only way you can do that is to encourage science and engineering in agriculture.
Despite effort to improve agriculture in Nigeria to ensure food security, farmer-herder conflict and insecurity in key food-producing regions, particularly the north, have displaced farmers and severely disrupted agricultural activities. Bello Musa, Trust TV News Kaduna.
Now in business, Nigeria's upstream petroleum regulator has reported sweeping gains in the oil and gas sector, announcing a 762% rise in rig count alongside billions of dollars in new investments and major reforms 4 years after its establishment. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, in a statement signed by its head of media and strategic communications, Eniola Akinkuotu, on Sunday, said its achievements since the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act had restored investor confidence, curbed crude theft, and positioned Nigeria for long-term energy growth. The Commission disclosed that active rig count jumped from 8 in 2021 to 69 as of October 2025, describing the surge as a testament to renewed investor interest in Nigeria's oil and gas industry. Of this, 40 rigs are currently active, while the rest are on standby or in transit. On revenue, the regulator said it consistently outperformed government targets, exceeding its collection benchmarks in 2022, 2023, and 2024 by 18.3%, 14.65%, and 84.2% respectively. And on the foreign scene, the International Criminal Court (ICC) has convicted a former Sudanese militia leader for atrocities committed in Darfur conflict more than 20 years ago, marking the first ever conviction related to the violence that devastated the region. On Monday, judges at The Hague found Ali Muhammad Ali Abdelrahman, also known as Ali Kushaib, guilty of 27 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity, including murder, rape, torture, and persecution. His sentence will be determined after a new round of hearings. The ruling represents a historic milestone for the ICC, as it is the first and only conviction stemming from the Darfur conflict since the United Nations Security Council referred the case to the court in 2005. Abdulrahman, who denied all 31 charges when his trial began in April 2022, was accused of leading Janjaweed militia forces responsible for some of the war's atrocities in Darfur between 2003 and 2004. Prosecutors described his actions as acts of beastly violence, including coordinated attacks on villages, mass killings, and the use of rape as a weapon of war. And that's a wrap on News Update. Do not forget to follow us across all social media platforms for more programs, news, and documentaries. I am Dorcas Yakubuzala. Thank you for watching.